Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're doing a deep dive into, well, what's being called Trump's one big beautiful bill.
That's the one.
And our mission really is to figure out what's actually in this huge Republican bill. You know, the specifics, the potential impacts based on the source material.
Right.
Can one bill really be big and beautiful for everyone? Or are there always, trade-offs?
Well, what's fascinating here is just how comprehensive this thing really is. It's significant.
Okay.
We're talking estimates are $4 to $5 trillion in tax cuts, but also pretty large spending cuts alongside that.
Wow.
And then big increases in funding for things like border security and the military.
So a lot going on. And what's the status? It's moving fast, right?
Very fast. It just passed the House yesterday, July 3rd, 2025, and everyone expects it to be signed into law, well, tomorrow, July 4th.
So it's basically here. It could
Well,
really reshape the economy.
Poised to, yeah.
Okay, huge scope then. Let's try and break it down. The tax cuts seem like the place to start, often the headline grabber.
Sure.
What's it mean for, individual taxes, savings?
Well, first off, it extends those Trump-era tax cuts from 2017. So the lower rates people have gotten used to, they stick around.
Okay, continuation. What else?
Then there are some interesting new deductions, one for tips,
Okay.
another for overtime pay, and even one for interest paid on car loans.
Car loans, really?
Yeah. And it also boosts the child tax credit quite a bit. That puts more cash directly into the hands of, families with kids.
Right.
And importantly, expands the standard deduction.
Which is a big deal for simplifying taxes, right?
Exactly. It helps a lot of households, particularly middle-income ones. Less need to itemize often means, bigger savings overall.
Okay. And you mentioned something about savings tools.
Oh, yes. This is pretty novel. It creates these new things called Trump accounts, specifically for children.
Trump accounts. Okay,
Yeah.
What are those?
They're designed as like tax advantage savings accounts. The idea seems to be more flexibility than, say, a 529 plan, maybe for expenses beyond just education.
Interesting. Genuinely new then. But, okay, that's the tax relief side. Every big bill like this has, well, the other side of the coin.
Absolutely.
What about spending? What's the flip side here?
So on that side, the bill includes up to $1.2 trillion in spending cuts. Pretty substantial.
To which programs?
It targets some major ones like Medicaid, which is healthcare for low-income folks.
Right.
And SNAP, food stamps, basically. Plus, cuts to green energy initiatives.
And I heard something about work requirements.
Yes, that's a key part. It adds new or strengthens existing work requirements to get many of these benefits. The stated aim is, encouraging self-reliance.
What's the impact?
Well, the estimate is it could really reduce access to healthcare and food aid for potentially millions of people. It's a clear policy shift prioritizing austerity, maybe, and less broad government support.
That does sound like a profound change in direction, a real reevaluation. Okay, so beyond taxes and social programs, where else is the money going? You mentioned border security and defense.
Right. There's over $350 billion earmarked just for border security.
That's a lot. What does that cover? The wall?
That, yes. Finishing, expanding the wall. But also more funding for immigration enforcement generally. More agents, new tech, that sort of thing.
Okay. And defense.
A significant boost there, too. Money for things like missile defense systems, new Navy ships.
Like destroyers.
Yeah, next-gen destroyers, other procurements.
Yeah.
And also, importantly, expanded funding for veteran care. So a clear focus on national security and military commitments.
Okay, wow. That is truly a lot of moving parts, big shifts everywhere. So what does this all mean? Let's try and bring it together. When you look at the total financial picture, the overall impact, who feels it the most?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, they're the nonpartisan scorekeeper.
Right. What do their numbers say?
Their estimate is that this bill, even with the spending cuts, could actually increase the national deficit.
Increase it. By how much?
By up to potentially $4.6 trillion over the next 10 years.
Wow. Okay, that's a massive number.
Oh.
Raises big questions about fiscal health down the road.
It does. And then you look at the distributional impact, like who gains, who loses. The analysis suggests it's, well, pretty stark.
How so?
Low-income families could potentially see their annual income drop by around $1,600 per year on average.
Drop, okay. And higher earners?
Wealthy earners could see gains of about $12,000 per year, again, on average.
That is a really significant difference. It shows where the benefits and, I guess, the burdens are landing.
Exactly. It reflects some very specific policy choices about, who pays and who benefits.
So it really makes you think, what do these numbers mean for you listening right now, for your family, for the wider economy? How might a bill this comprehensive with such, well, contrasting effects on different people, how might that shape economic debates going forward? Or even just your own financial planning?
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really prompts you to consider the balance of priorities, right? What does the design of this bill say about the direction the country might be heading in? Lots to think about there.